All right. We are live on the pre-show. Less than 3 minutes to go. Welcome. Hope everybody is doing fantastic on this beautiful spring day. I don't know about you, but with the sun, my spirits are lifted and feeling great with the sunshine. Got to enjoy some time outside, and I hope you do too. So welcome to the show, or the pre-show, I should say. It's going to be a jam-packed show. Got an amazing guest, and for the first time on my show, a live performance. So what better way to lift your spirits? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she's going to play something depressing and it'll do the opposite effect. But either way, it's going to be a journey, and I can't wait to take you on that journey. So excited to have Barbra here, Barbra Lica, and got some big news too. Very big event industry news that you're going to want to stick around to hear. So, hang out. This is just the time where I make sure everything is working, that we're live, and it looks like everything is working as it should be. If you're out there and you're watching this live, be sure to say hello in the comments so we know that you're out there. And if you're watching this after the fact, that's okay too. You can also leave a comment and let us know what you think of the show. So just about a minute to go until the show begins. You can get down to the beats in the meantime. Oh yeah, it's taking you on like a trip hop, dub, step, I don't even know what this is. But 45 seconds to go. All right. "17 seconds. "10. Oh, trying to copy and paste a link in the next 6 seconds. Here we go, Barbra. This is for you. And let's go. Hello and welcome to That's Entertaining. I'm your host, Arthur K. And this episode and every episode is brought to you by Fusion Events. That's right. So thank you for tuning in wherever you are. If you're watching live or you're listening on the podcast or you are watching this video after the fact, thank you for tuning in. It is going to be an exciting show. And, every time that I do this, my nerves are less and less. So that's good. Feeling a little bit more comfortable. You may notice we have a little bit of a new set design, if you will, today. So that's fun. And just a little housekeeping. So, if you are tuning in for the first time, this show is a, sort of like a late night talk show kind of format with various segments and special guests and interviews. And last week we had Lucas Margulis, who has a company called High Bar, which is a supplier of cannabis and cannabis products for events. So that was a really interesting episode. If you missed that, definitely check that out. And then actually not next week, we're going to take a little bit of a break just to, do some work. May the 4th be with you will be a very special episode as well, because we have Joel Olendeska from simple.ar who's going to do a live augmented reality demo. So I'm really excited about that, because I think, and we'll talk a little bit about some AR stuff later on very quickly, but that's going to be really cool. So you're definitely going to want to tune in May the 4th. And, one way you can do that is, first of all, like the content, subscribe, and dinging the bell on my LinkedIn or my YouTube will help you stay in touch and notified when we do our shows. And on today's show, I have a amazing, multifaceted artist, composer. She's been nominated for a Juno. You're definitely going to want to stick around. She's agreed to perform a couple songs for us. So that's really exciting. I'm really stoked about that. So let's get into the show with our special report. All right. So special report today. We have some news, event industry news that you're definitely not going to want to miss out on. We've got Firefest is back. Are you ready? Why should you be invited to Firefest is the question Billy McFarland asked on his Twitter recently. So this guy just got out of jail some time ago for the epic failure of the Fire Festival, which you've all heard about. And there's 2 documentaries about it, and was an event that just put a dark stain on the events industry. And he is out of jail. He owes $26 million. And he's now tweeting, right here you can see it, Fire Festival 2 is happening. Tell me why you should be invited. And so I actually got to click through on, because the replies to the tweets are really hilarious. So we got to look at this. I'll show up with 100 crates full of bananas. No one will go hungry this time around. And then he actually responds, looping in real Andy King to advise on how much this will run us with customs. Greatest comeback since the QR code. I'm here for it. Can I bring my therapist? So, I mean, if for some reason you've been living under a rock, Fire Festival was this like influencer kind of festival that was being touted as like the coolest place to be. And it all imploded. People showed up on the island, I believe it was Barbados, or Bahamas or Barbados, one of those islands. And yeah, everything was just a disaster. All the artists canceled. No one was getting paid. There was not enough food. There was not enough water. So, is this guy? My question is this guy like completely batshit crazy, or is he some kind of genius? I don't know. I don't know. It's anybody's guess, really. And so, yeah, so that's news number one. And then we're going to get into news number two. So Apple announced that they'll be announcing their new extended reality AR headset goggles, whatever you want to call them, June 25th at their Worldwide Developers Conference. So that's pretty cool. I'm personally excited to try it. Now, it does come with a $3,000 price tag, and I'm not really one to jump on the ship on the first iteration of things because they change so quickly, but I would pay to try it, that's for sure. And for anybody who doesn't know exactly, what augmented reality is or extended reality, it's essentially overlaying various content over the real world. Now, you can do this very easily now using Snapchat. That's a type of augmented reality where you have your Snapchat filter and it masks your face or does various things. But, I can imagine a world where we're all wearing goggles and that is happening. You can experience that in full 360, fully immersed without having to, hold your phone in front of you. And this technology has been around for years. In fact, I want to show you this other product from Microsoft, which, I think has been around for like 5, 6, 7 years, but it's not for commercial. It's only for enterprise usage. And this is the Microsoft HoloLens. Take a look at this. This will kind of give you an idea of what the future of, wearable augmented reality could be like.
Computers have the ability to understand the real world. A bunch of really powerful things can happen.
We've been looking at the critical workflows for the first-line worker, and we are committed to bringing products to market to help them do their jobs more effectively. One of the first critical workflows that we uncovered was for the field service worker who often needs to call in for some expert help. And with mixed reality, we can bring the expert to them, and the expert can see what they're seeing and can annotate into their space and help them solve the problem and verify that it's been done correctly. Another critical workflow that we've uncovered is around training employees on new products, processes, equipment. Companies are spending a lot of time and money on this today, and these things change often, and they're so critical to their operations. Another area of opportunity is around space planning. Companies need help designing and planning out their spaces efficiently. Mixed reality enables them to view their designs with digital objects, and they can see them at scale, and they can walk through them and iterate before they have to make the costly decisions.
All right, so that's the HoloLens. So again, that's not something that has games and experiences for you. This is for commercial enterprise, and you can see where it's priced out at. Not really that much more at the starting point than Apple's new product, but Apple has proven that when they do something, it tends to blow every other competitor out of the water. So it'll be interesting to see if this new technology, this new AR headset is gonna do that. I mean, I've heard rumors that they're gonna stop producing the iPhone, so maybe we'll all just be wearing AR goggles. Time will tell, but I'm excited for trying that out for sure. Okay, so let's move on to our next segment, where I want to talk about. Well, I hear a lot of discussion in events and marketing about community, and using community as a sort of top of the funnel, way to bring in leads essentially and business. But then there's also, communities that happen sort of organically. And I wanted to share one such community with you that really had an impact on me. And as, you know, an entertainment professional or an event professional, it really may have an impact on you. So I'm going to tell you about something called office hours. And office hours was started during the pandemic by a couple of media professionals. They call themselves media artists, which is really probably a better term for what they are, who would just get together on Zoom every day during the pandemic and maybe hang out for an hour or two, talk shop, and they continued to do this and then started to live stream it. And you could, you know, join the Zoom meeting, or you could watch it on YouTube. They developed their own sort of proprietary platform for asking questions and upvoting, sort of gamifying the broadcast. And this whole thing is kind of spearheaded by this guy called Alex Lindsay, who at one time worked for Lucasfilms and then also had his own production company. And he's a very brilliant guy. And there's a panel of, it varies day to day, but there's a panel of, you know, 10 to 20 experts in their field, everything from audio engineers to virtual production to network type IT solutions. And every day, every single day, 7 days a week, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, they are doing a show, a 2-hour show, every single day. And it's incredible, the amount of content. I just want to show you real quick here. So this is their YouTube page, Office Hours Global. And it's produced so incredibly well. I mean, you just take a look at any example here. I'll just scroll through, but you know, everybody has incredible cameras and setups, and you know, they have a whole team of people behind the scenes running the show. There are directors and producers, people cutting the show, people doing, you know, speaking to all the panelists. So it's not just like a typical Zoom meeting that gets broadcast out. And I have learned so much from this incredible community. And the really neat thing is that, okay, so 2 hours a day, you have Office Hours Global, which gets live streamed. And then the other 22 hours a day, they have an open Zoom meeting called After Hours. And After Hours, like I said, it's open 22 hours a day. And you can just pop in there. Let's say you're having a technical difficulty, or you got a new router, you're trying to set it up, you can't get internet happening, or you're learning OBS. I did a little tutorial on OBS last week. You're learning OBS and you can't figure something out. You can go in the middle of the night and you'll find someone who's in the after hours Zoom meeting and just be like, hey, does anybody know how to use OBS? And someone without a doubt will be like, yes, I know how to use OBS. What's the problem? And they'll work with you to troubleshoot the issue. Or it's just a good place to go, hang out, have conversations. So officehours.global is where you go to sign up. And you just literally go to officehours.global, you register, and then you'll get the emails with the daily link and the after hours link. And then on, you know, they even do educational sort of like sessions. You know, they do workshops on like Unreal Engine and various things, like from that apply to so many different sort of modalities within events, entertainment, production. So it's really great. Highly recommend you check out officehours.global, because it has been a game changer for me. And during the pandemic, it was something that, you know, really kept me motivated, kept me inspired. You know, this show probably wouldn't even be happening if I hadn't been sort of tuned in to Office Hours. So yeah, you check it out and tell me what you think. So now I want to talk a little bit about my guest, who's going to be coming up in a sec. We met during the pandemic as well, but I've known about her, and there's only one radio station when I listen to the radio that I listen to, and it's Jazz FM, and I would frequently hear this artist Barbra Lica being played on the radio, and I just thought, how refreshing a sound, especially on jazz radio. So yeah, she's a Juno nominated artist. She's a composer. She's just a wonderful, lovely person. So I'm excited to have her. So before I bring Barbra on, I want you to check out her latest video called Girls Like Me. Check this out. It's a lot of fun.
Girls Like Me was filmed before a live studio audience.
I played D&D on Friday nights. I watch Star Trek reruns all the time. And my favorite thing is water slides in the summer. When I'm nervous, I make lists because of those bullet points and rolls I love. And handsome boys in t-shirts make me stutter. But what if girls like me? What if girls like me could rule the world? What if it was cool to be a nerd? Sitting at my desk and making budgets on Excel better than anybody else on TV. If the world belonged to girls like me. I'm an introvert who's out of touch. I'm the last to hear the latest buzz. Wouldn't know who Billie Eilish was without Ellen. And I could be much better off if I wasn't always writing songs. I could find a fancy office job in a second. But what if girls like me? What if girls like me could rule the world? What if it was cool to be a nerd? Sitting at my desk and making budgets on Excel better than anybody else on TV. If the world belonged to girls like me.
Please welcome Barbra Lica. Hi, Barbra.
Hey there. Sorry, I muted myself so I could dance along.
That's okay.
It took me so long.
I kept the
It
dance
took me so
sequence
long
in
to learn the dance
for you.
moves. Thank you for
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it took me longer to learn that maybe 20 seconds of dancing than any song ever.
Then it took to write the whole song.
Yeah, for sure. Write, arrange, record, whole thing. Took much longer to learn that dance.
And I want to know, what would the world be like if it was run by girls like you?
Oh man, there would be a lot more collectibles in every corner. Just like figurines. No, things would be different. I think we just have women ruling everything. Just be a rule that for
You know what?
5
I
years
don't
we're
think
having
that would be a
women
bad
rule.
thing. I really don't think that would be a bad thing.
Just temporary. Just 5 years trial. Like just 5 years. Give us a shot. Anyway.
I would vote for you. So before we get into the interview, just to and not that it really talking to you requires much ice breaking, but I just want to try something fun. So we're going to do a little game called Two Truths and a Lie. So you may have heard this because I don't know that much about Barbra. So I'm going to see if I can figure out her lie. So I'm going to start. I'm going to do this too because wouldn't be fair to just put you on the spot. So I'm going to give you three things here, okay? And you tell me which one is a lie. Okay. In Toronto at one time, Maceo Parker, you know Maceo Parker? He was a saxophone player for James Brown, Prince.
Of course. Yes.
One time in Toronto, Maceo Parker called me on stage to play the saxophone with him. That's one thing, okay? One time in Cincinnati, I partied with and danced with Bootsy Collins. Okay?
These are pretty.
That's two.
These are pretty impressive.
Yeah, everyone knows Bootsy, the guy with the star glasses. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3. I once in Montreal sat backstage with George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic, just me and him, for 20 minutes in silence, watching his band perform on the screen. They were on stage, and we're watching a television of his band performing for 20 minutes. Just me and him.
I mean, that feels pretty specific to be a lie. That's very... But maybe you made the lie the most specific. I'm going to say Bootsy's a lie.
Bootsy's a lie? Well, no. Incorrect.
Bootsy's true. Okay.
I cheated. They're all true. It's my show. I can do what I want.
Okay, come on. Okay, that's pretty fun if that's all true.
I don't. They're all true. I don't know how I ended up, rubbing shoulders with like the funk greats of all time. Maybe it had something to do with being in a funk band for a long time. But
God made me.
Hey,
Okay.
you know it.
I do. Yeah, you guys played my my, what was it? It's like Frosh. You played my Frosh week.
Oh wow, yeah. So for those who don't know, in my past life, I was in a band called God Made Me Funky. But we're not here to talk about
the album.
me. Oh wow.
Bought the album. Really liked the album.
Well, that's great to hear.
But yeah, let's see. Okay, mine are going to be a lot less elaborate. I have lived in Toronto my whole life. I once got to meet the late great Ella Fitzgerald. Very big moment. And my favorite show of all time is SpongeBob SquarePants.
Has it always been your favorite show?
Am I allowed to elaborate on any of these things?
Well, I don't know. I guess not. Maybe not. I was just thinking, I know you just told me you have an 18-month-old, so I thought, okay, maybe you started watching it and now it's your favorite show, but I'm going to go with lived in Toronto, met Ella. I mean, that's huge. That also is very specific. SpongeBob SquarePants. That's a lie. That's not your favorite show.
It is my favorite show of all time. Always has been. I mean, there was a brief Sailor Moon period, and I guess it hasn't been around forever. But since the day the first episode aired, it's my favorite show. And before that, I loved Rocko's Modern Life, which was the same people. But I am currently staring at a giant 3,000 piece framed puzzle of SpongeBob. And I've had to have friends and family have an intervention to remove SpongeBob paraphernalia from my apartment. Because it looked like I had a children's zoo here. It was not good. This was well before the 18-month.
Wow.
Like my entire storage closet is just full of SpongeBob stuff. I have every McDonald's and Burger King SpongeBob ever made. Every Wendy's SpongeBob toy ever made. I have every SpongeBob Beanie Baby ever made. I have all the shows, obviously, on DVD.
So that does tell me a lot about you, that you're a hoarder, potentially, and compulsive.
I would be. Left to my own devices, I would be. But no, I never met Ella, unfortunately. I always wanted to, and I've had dreams where I did, but I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like she passed away. Was it in the early 90s?
There was some overlap when I was alive, but I did not meet her.
Well, that's a shame.
It's too bad, right?
Yes. Well, thank you for indulging me in my little game. So now I want to learn a little bit. I want to share, with the audience a little bit about sort of how you got into. I mean, you're known in some circles as a jazz artist, right? But I would say you're a lot more than that. You're very multifaceted. But how did you get? Because it's not that usual for young people to get into jazz. So how did like that happen, and how did you decide to? When did you decide to pursue music as a career?
I tried my best to not pursue music as a career. I tried my darndest. I knew how difficult it was. I knew how much pain there was involved in it because both of my parents were professional musicians. They met in Toronto in a band, so they immigrated here as artists from Europe, and you know, music had been this big source of heartbreak for them. So I really just wanted to do anything else. And I had a full scholarship when I graduated from high school to go to Dalhousie and study microbiology and immunology. And they got so mad at me. It was like this big, which is the opposite of most people's stories.
Exactly.
But they're like, no, you have to pursue your dreams. You have to do. We know you love music. And and so I decided as a compromise I would go to U of T and study both. So I did jazz performance and human biology, and my thing was jazz because I had, you know, gone into my parents' old record collections. That's not what they were singing or performing at the time, but they had all that music, and I would go and play all of that, and I was just very in love with Ella Fitzgerald and Doris Day and Louis Armstrong, and I have paintings of them here too that I've commissioned. So I just loved that. I love that storytelling aspect of it. You know, I felt like any feeling I was having, even in high school, I could find a jazz tune for it with that amount of melodrama.
Yeah, I have a similar story in terms of how I discovered music. You know, it's just like what's available in the house. You know, my parents are also Eastern European, and my dad played music, but not professionally. But you know, we had records, you know, Manhattan Transfer and things like that, which introduced me to jazz. What I'm staring at right now is actually the original poster of the Clint Eastwood film Bird with Forrest Whitaker.
Oh wow, it's a lot more grown up than what I have. But yeah.
And so, okay, so that's how you discover jazz. You go to university, you come out, you're killing it. You win a bunch of awards. I think there was like the Sarah Vaughan Award.
Yeah, the music thing just kept taking off, and I never really. It's almost like I finished the science stuff, but I just got pulled into the momentum of music, and it's a bug, you know. Once you know you love it, and you're in it, which I think is what I was trying to avoid in the first place. I didn't want to be in love with, you know, the great mistress that is professional music. But I did, and then slowly I started realizing that I could make stories really suit what I was feeling by writing my own music. And that was a whole process too. I actually had people doing interventions on me, just like the SpongeBob. My life is a series of interventions. Where they were saying, you know, people I was working with early on out of school were saying, you know, you shouldn't write your own songs. You should stick to stick to the Great American Songbook. And so I rebelled there too. And I wrote, and since then, you know, I've traveled to Nashville a bunch and discovered country music and different kinds of, you know, contemporary folk music across Canada. So I just write in any and all genres in order to get the stories that I want to get out there, whether they relate to, you know, 2 other people or 2 million. Always hoping for the latter, but yeah.
And so, you know, everything is going great, right? More or less, you know, you're doing your thing. And then March 2020, pandemic rolls around. What were you doing right before the pandemic? Were you on tour? Or did you have a release? Like what was happening in your life at that time?
I had a tour booked. I had a trip. I was supposed to leave in 3 days to Nashville, which also had some kind of, you know, historical storm happening there that blew down a few a few folk clubs. I don't know if you remember that back in March 2020. But I was supposed to go there and do a big writing trip, and I had just received funding from Factor to make a new album. So it was all on the up and up, and then it was immediately not happening. And it took a long time to even accept that it wasn't happening. And the way I ended up spending the pandemic after that was just hilarious.
Tell me about that, because I want to know.
Oh, it was okay. So it was long, right? This thing wouldn't end. It's arguably still not over. And so the first part, I didn't know what to do, and I said, okay, let's just get in the best shape of our lives. I started becoming like a kettlebell master. I got into just crazy shape over the course of a year, and then still no music. So I decided that I would get married. And I said I would never do it. I said I would never, ever do it.
The pandemic, I think, brought that out in a lot of people, actually, you know, having sort of one foot in the wedding industry as well. You know, it was like, it kind of brought things into perspective for people. And they're like, damn, like, who knows what's going to happen with the world? Like, let's just do it, right? Let's get married.
It was kind of like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a child of divorce, and I never really believed in the entire institution. But then, you know, this guy had been consistently nice to me for 12 years. So I decided...
That's usually a good reason to marry someone.
I figured he'd be mean by then, you know, and I was in coincidentally great shape. I planned a wedding in 3 weeks, and it was great because I never wanted to have a big wedding. I figured, you know, as a performer, I don't want to, for fun and enjoyment, you know, organize a large scale entertaining event. So it was a great opportunity to do a thing in a sunflower field with 30 people. And it was just intimate and small and weird. And then I was still bored, and a friend of mine called me and said, you know, all my work was canceled too, so you want to just do some orchestra arranging. So I started getting together with a friend of mine 2 to 3 times a week on Zoom and making chamber orchestra arrangements with specific Toronto people in mind. Like, I'm a big Kevin Turcotte fan. I think he's one of the most amazing trumpet players. So we wrote all this stuff for Kevin and Alison Au on the sax, and we had a string section. And by the end of it, we ended up with 16 scores for 14 jazz and classical instruments plus voice. And I started writing grants, and they gave us a bunch of money to organize some shows for as soon as the pandemic is over with this chamber orchestra. And that wasn't enough. So I started recording this album that I got money to do remotely and learning how to produce myself. And I co-produced it virtually with a whole bunch of people, and sometimes in person as we could do that. And I ended up deciding to have a baby too. So... So I made a box of chamber scores, a new album, and a baby in the second half of the pandemic. It was probably more productive than before the pandemic, but in different and not entirely paid ways.
Yeah, well, hopefully it pays off at a later time.
Not really. Selling a chamber orchestra is really hard. I mean, because we had that funding, we were able to subsidize 5 shows or 6 shows or whatever we did and give rates to people as though it was my usual quintet. So they jumped at it. But the reality is when things came back, the fees were awful, even just for my regular band. People were afraid to book things, whether it would be canceled or not. There was a lot of audience attrition. So I kind of feel like, you know, it was a beautiful ephemeral experience. now I'll be lucky, you know. I'm just trying to enforce some kind of decent fees, even just for my regular project. It's been really weird post-pandemic.
It's interesting because, you know, I'm in a slightly different silo of like the entertainment industry and events industry than you are, and you know, there's a real divide in my side of things where people are like, oh, events are back, everyone wants to go to events, and it's you know, it's the best it's ever been, and then there's other people who are like still really struggling, right? So it's interesting. I don't feel like I have a grasp on what is actually happening, you know. But it's interesting to hear from your perspective, because everything around us and events, entertainment has all gone up exponentially in price. The cost of travel. I mean, as a musician, now for musicians to like tour in the U.S., they have to get what's called a P2 visa, which is something I'm very, very familiar with. And now they're going to like raise that 300%. They want to 300%. It's ridiculous. Like, it's going from like $400 to like over $2,000. And yet here you are saying that, everything's going up. Ticket prices are going up. Everything's going up, but the artist fees are still stuck in 2020.
They're stuck in before 2020. They
right,
were
yeah.
better in 2020 than they are now. I feel like I'm getting offers that I got when I graduated university. It's quite, and I've been talking to a lot of other artists. I won't name any by name, but I'm hearing a lot of that. I felt like it was just me, and I've been reaching out, just sort of trying to figure out what's going on. And I noticed that the things that do well are cover bands, or large scale productions, but just sort of original art music is really, really hard to sell right now. And I think that it's because some of the theaters and festivals too are depending on subscriberships, and we need to be a little bit more creative with how we market these things or where we put these shows on. And there's also a lot of, I've said this at length, but I think a lot of the funding models that fund some of these events that are designed to have original artists, that they aren't controlled in how they allocate those funds. So they will put the large majority of it into international artists. So we have all these, funded Canadian events that pay a very small portion of that amount to their domestic bookings.
And what people don't realize is that, like, for example, in Ontario, where we are, I think we have like the most festivals in the world, or some ridiculous stat. I mean, there's so many festivals. It's a business, right? Then these festivals are getting, significant grants from the government.
Yeah.
And like Barbara's saying, is they'll, spend most of their budget on a headliner, and then whatever's left, they'll distribute, to local talent, which is unfortunate. And, I've been to some of these festivals. Again, I won't name any names either, but like the lack of programming. Like, if I have to go to another Rib Fest, oh shoot, did I just name a name? But like, it seems like a cash grab to me. I mean, I don't know that much about festivals, but it's like, let's just get the grant. We'll get the food trucks. We'll put up a little stage and a couple bouncy castles, and there's your festival, right? So it's definitely challenging, and especially if you're, I don't want to say pigeonholed. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you feel that way, but in that sort of jazz category. And I'm curious, like, so what is, for you, like, what is the answer moving forward? How, like, where do you go from here? Like, it's tough. Performance is tough. So like diversifying, right? So what else?
Yeah, I'm trying to diversify. I'm trying to, you mentioned a little bit earlier in the show about community, and build a community of people that I could work with in a collective sense, in order to be able to pitch the music itself to commercial entities. So I'm putting together something to be able to do that. That's the thing I enjoy the most. I've had, whether people could see it on stage or not, I've had stage fright for 12 years, and the thing I love most about this career is just writing the tunes. And so I'm trying to find ways as a collective to be able to write and pitch and place music for commercials, for TV, for films, and be able to turn out really high quality and really quick demos for people that way. That's what I'm investigating, because it feels like the thing that is the least lucrative these days is traveling. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. Like, definitely, if you look at like big artists, like album sales are not even, do you even make money off? Nobody buys albums. It's, you're getting points and points of a cent on a stream, right? You get like very little income from streaming unless you're streaming billions of plays. But, artists now, it's like brand partnerships is where they're making money. Touring for really big artists, they do make money off like touring and merch and stuff like that. But it's hard.
There's a petition going around now that they're trying to get venues to stop taking a percentage of merch, because they even take, 15 to 20 points on your merch. And and on the album side, I mean, my music does generate some pretty good revenue, but the majority of the music that does generate that revenue is associated with labels, and a lot of the old school labels are the ones going on those traditional contracts. They take 75% of your master revenue, so you're now getting 25% of the fraction of a cent that gets paid out. And unfortunately, if you're not associated with labels a lot of the time, even though nobody will admit this, but it's very difficult to get well-paying editorial playlisting on the streaming platforms unless you're associated with these labels. And they will say, no, that's not true. We have, say Spotify for pitching for artists, and that lets artists pitch individually. And to some extent, that's true. But you will notice that artists who are with a major label, within day of drop, they'll be on 5-6 different editorial playlists. And I followed it long enough that, obviously there's some kind of connection, there's some kind of relationship. And I could say myself that the music I release independently gets a lot less playlisting than music associated with a label.
Yeah, I heard that labels are now basically requiring artists to have a certain virality online with their song before they even release it to the public. Like, it needs to have a certain number of views or replays on TikTok before they even release a song. So it's just
social media in general has become either an amazing thing. It's either an amazing thing that you're a marketing guru, you know how to use it, and you use it to build your career. And I bow down to those people. But for a lot of people, I think it's also a barrier of entry. I mean, we got into a point where even public radio won't consider premiering music without a certain number of followers on whatever platform. Even the granting system, 5, maybe longer now, 5-7 years ago, started adding social media metrics to your standing with how much money you can qualify for. So it's almost like you have to be a content creator in order to be an artist and musician. And honestly, I would jump on with a team. That's another way where a community could go in to be creating more content. But of my own volition, I mean, I'm an awkward nerd who sits here and writes songs. That's just who I am, and I often forget to put on a camera or capture that. And I think I've been better at it for stretches of time, and then I fall off, because you need, in order to do that consistently, you need to be resonating with it. You need to be able to do it with some level of integrity, and people find their niches. So I don't know, a friend of mine described the way the music industry is going now as like, I trained my whole life to play tennis, and now it's a badminton tournament. So it's
That's
just
a good analogy.
I'm not the best badminton player, but what I know that I can do is write songs. And so that's kind of the way I'm more and more pushing things towards going and just focusing on songs. And even the way I put out my last album, I just put it out a song at a time to really highlight individual songs as opposed to, big, large marketing projects.
And that's the other, great stream of revenue for artists is licensing their music. And I think that's a really good segue to go into a song from you. Um, maybe there's something, I don't know if you had something in mind that you wanted to perform, or if there's something that, came about during the pandemic from your latest album. I know it's Imposter Syndrome was the last album, right? That's the one from Girls Like Me, right? Which I love that video, by the way. It's so awesome. Like, the Girls Like Me was filmed before a live studio audience. I have to know, because I know you've worked with James Bryan before. Is he involved in that song?
No.
Okay, because I saw the video game you're playing, and I was like, geez, that kind of reminds me of Prozac a little bit, you know?
Yeah. No,
if you ever saw their animated videos.
You kidding me? I'm a huge Prozac fan.
Well, for those that aren't.
Right, though, yeah. And they're writing new tunes, and they're still out there doing some stuff and doing like revival tours. But I wrote that one by myself during the pandemic in a very nerdy slump. And that's kind of, each song on the album is a different take on why I think I don't deserve to be an artist. Which, that's what imposter syndrome is, Girls Like Me is, I'm too awkward and nerdy and uncool. And I can do one for you.
But nerdy's cool now. Right? Isn't nerdy becoming cool with ChatGPT and all these like engineers, and like, it's cool to be nerdy?
I guess so. I hope so. If it is, then it's my time.
I think you're cool. I think you're cool.
Thanks. My band, when we're like even going around, like they're always trying to remind me how to behave. It's like, Barbie, say thank you, Barbie. Make eye contact. Okay. I'll make eye contact. Here, I'll do one for you. I haven't done this in a little while, but this was one I had on the album, which was written after I was in there was a chat platform. I don't know if it's still up. Clubhouse. Do you remember Clubhouse?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I've also forgotten about it as quickly as I learned about it.
Yeah, I was really excited about it because I didn't have to you didn't have to type or prepare anything. You could just go and talk.
Right.
And there were all these music rooms, and then they started doing a lot of recruiting through these for people to create new pandemic recordings and projects. And there was one where they were recruiting, sorry, I'm inarticulate. Yeah. Women between the ages of 17 and 25. And I went on and I said, "Sir, it was for like a new album or thing that they wanted to make." And I said, "Sir, just as a concerned listener, would you please let me know what happens to women after 25? And then he just didn't know what to say, and the whole room basically got shut down. It was anyway. I went back to my desk, and I wrote this tune, which I'll attempt for you now, no promises, called "Sour Women."
And was that when you sit down to write that, is that like a process of like an hour, or is it like hours? I'm curious, like what the process is like.
I usually because I'm very obsessive, I won't leave until it's finished, and it usually takes me an hour or two, and then I'll edit a little bit over the next few days.
And then once you feel content with it, it's just like locked in there forever. You don't need sheet music or lyrics.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that, and then maybe I'm not going to remember this, but I don't. And my husband was actually saying that I take that for granted, that I just assume, I'm not particularly fast. I think it takes me a good day to learn. I'm doing a Burt Bacharach tribute this summer. It takes me like a good day to learn each one of these tunes. They're hard. So I think that I'm slow, but when I've written a tune, I lived in that tune. I was thinking all the words and melody. Yeah. I was so that if I feel like, of course you remember it. But I've noticed even in sessions where I'm with other writers and we're doing things, they say, "Oh, we got to record it. We got to do all this," and I'm always saying like, "Why? I'll just remember it."
Right. And before you go, I'm just curious because I love the peeling back the artistic mind, how many songs would you say are in that vault? Original songs that you could, pretty much at the drop of a dime, pull up from the memory vault?
I wouldn't know any more. Many songs. Yeah. No, there's a
That's
lot.
amazing. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. So
I
yeah.
wrote it, I remember it. But
Yeah.
then like ask me to
I made the
do-
breakfast myself, but I still can barely remember.
That's what I always say, like I learn by do. If I
Yeah.
make like a recipe, like I'll make it exactly the same way the next day if I did it. Anyway.
All right. Well, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen,
I'll try my best.
without further ado, here is Barbra Lica singing Strange Women?
Sour women.
Sour Women. Even better. Sour Women. Here we go. Stage is yours.
I think I'm past my best before, and now the local corner store will have to take me off the floor with all the other sour women. I'm not sure what happened though. I'm told that's just the way it goes. There comes a time when women folk develop this bizarre condition. And I should have seen it coming, me and all the sour women with our unashamed opinions proudly on display. Uncomfortable for people who would take their pride away. If this is what it's like to be too far beyond my sweet 16, to be part of your groceries, from here among the sour women. Then take me to the discount bins with my unshaken confidence, to tell it like it really is, for anyone who cares to listen. Seems to me we're far from sour. Every day we're more empowered. Look at all the beauty our wisdom can create. 'Cause women aren't meant to be consumed before a date. So here's to all my sour women, to many, many years of living free.
You get confetti and applause for that. Thank you, thank you,
Nice.
thank you, Barbara. The setting up the story of that song beforehand really makes it that much more impactful, and yeah. So I want to thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you and listening to you sing, and hopefully, you gain a few more fans out of this conversation. And the thing I love about doing this show is that so far it's actually every guest that I speak with sparks some type of collaboration, and so that's been a really good benefit of doing this, and I'm glad that you and I have been having some conversations offline as well about some different things. So look forward to continuing those conversations with you, And thank you for blessing us with your incredible talent and stories. And how can people find your music if they want to purchase it or listen to it?
Yeah, I'm on every streaming platform. I've checked. And if you have, if you go on Bandcamp, you can get a physical copy, or else get a guide to all these various things at my website. It's barbralicamusic.com.
Awesome. So definitely go check her out. Listen to her music. She's wonderful. My name's Arthur Kay, and I am signing out. Thank you so much. Have a great day.